So Josiah, you were in.
That was such a pregnant silence.
Well, I was trying to figure out how to phrase this. Okay, let me start again.
Yeah, let's there's a sort of there's a better. I've been thinking about the narrative way to reveal this, and I think it would be good if you just start by asking me where I've been in the last week.
Okay, hey Josiah, where have you been for
Sam.
the last week? Oh, hi.
What are you talking? Why are you keeping tabs on me?
Well, it's weird. We haven't talked. I mean, the timing of how we record this podcast can be a little wonky. So we recorded an episode like literally on the day I got back from vacation. And then several days later, we recorded the next week's. And then the next day we recorded Exclusi. And then we didn't talk for like a week and a half.
I know. And like every time this happens, we realize how therapeutic this project really is.
No, I left. I was at like a work thing and I was like, I have to go. And people were like, why? And I was like, therapy.
Yeah, well, since you're fucking such a jealous lover and you've been keeping track of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at the Sundance Film Festival.
Oh, wow. How prestigious.
In Park City, Utah, as I've been. This is my third time going.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's lots of. It's sort of like the main strip. Kind of reminds me of like Banff. I don't know if you've ever been to Banff.
I have actually. I'm also fancy.
Okay, there you go. So it's like there's beautiful mountains everywhere, and then there's just like one strip with like a few restaurants and then a bunch of gift stores. But then during the week or 10 days of Sundance, they like every giant brand rents out every store. So you're like, oh, I want to go to this pizza place, and then you walk in and it's like an Acura, the Acura Times Up tent or something. That's what I was really dreaming of this year, that there'd be some branded Times Up content, but there wasn't one. But suffice to say, like
that would have been too perfect for you. Like they knew that you were coming, and they're like, it's not going to happen.
But basically, it's this tiny. I guess it's a city, Park City, but it's a tiny ass town with like one street, and every single building is an exclusive party that's really hard to get into. And then like 5 miles away, there's like a strip mall with some other theaters, and then 5 miles from there's another strip mall. So you're pretty much just like going to movies all the time, and then waiting for a free shuttle, standing in puddles, getting very cold and very grumpy. So it's one of those things where like, while I'm there, I kind of want to die. And then like a few days after, I'm like, that was really fun.
Well, you got to, take photos with, you met Jaden Smith, right?
I met Jaden Smith. He's in a new film called Skate Kitchen that is like actually so awesome. I didn't think of, first of all, a coming of age film like about teen skaters is already like seems a little try hard. And then the fact that it's called Skate Kitchen, I was kind of worried, but it's so good. It's like if Kids was like good for humanity instead of made you feel gross inside.
Yeah, Kids is a really tough ride.
So I went to that one, and yeah, you can like if you're there, then you just run into the fucking celebs. I talked to Jaden Smith. My wife and I ran into Danny McBride on the street, and there's celebs everywhere, and especially if you pay attention to like indie movies, you kind of recognize almost everyone. So, but it's obviously kind of corny. But like Danny McBride, we're not going to not say that how much we love Vice Principal. So we said hi to him. But the other thing is like, so I go to these. There's the public screenings that sell out immediately because these theaters are so small because they weren't planning on having like the biggest film festival ever there. So there's like 100 tickets for a new movie opening.
Right, poor
Obviously,
planning. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, the entire film industry like buys it out in a second, and then, but then there's like press and industry screenings. So there's no celebs there, just a bunch of like grotesque film writers and like totally jaded producers who. Like, I've literally sat beside people who go on their laptop through a whole movie.
That's amazing.
Because you're just working, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, I pretend to take notes on my phone sometimes during the press and industry screenings, but I'm usually just, like, checking the gram or checking Twitter. But I was watching the Danny McBride movie. It's okay. It's not that great. But I was watching it. All of a sudden, I felt my phone start blowing up in my pocket. And I was like, I don't know. Should I look at my phone? Should I not? So I did. There was still like probably an hour left in the movie, and I did look at my phone.
Yeah.
Friend of the pod, Carl, said to me, "Have you met Tom DeLonge yet? He's here." And he sent me a screenshot of Tom DeLonge's Instagram because of all the places, this tiny ski town where the entire film industry descends, I happened to be there at the same time as fucking Tom middle name DeLong. I don't know what his middle name is.
You could have said anything. Like, you know.
But yeah. But he was there while I was there. And so I look at this photo that he posted, and it was him with Dakota and Elle Fanning, two of the greatest actresses of our generation, I would say.
Yeah.
And yeah, he said, I had a great time in Park City for Sundance, and I got to meet these two. So it was in past tense, so I like freaked out, like, fuck, I missed him. But I think he must have been in one of these like exclusive parties, because I have a really good eye. I always like see who's around me. Like we ate breakfast beside Brian Grazer, the big mega producer, and
wow,
the guy that plays Pennywise the clown was like asking the waitress for extra ketchup or something. I don't know. It was like I'm always aware of who's around me, so I definitely would not have missed Tom, and I would have probably kidnapped him or something. So maybe it's good I didn't run into him. But Tom was there. I was in the same place as Tom for the last week.
Yeah, it's really fucked up that you didn't meet him. Like
I got this. There was an hour left in the movie, and my chest was like, my heart was pumping so hard, and I'm like, what do I do? So I like sent him all these like thirsty DMs, because his DMs on Instagram are open.
You actually DM'd Tom?
Yeah, I did. I was like, look, I've tried talking to your manager and your PR person and stuff, and no one's writing me back. I need to talk to you. I thought if I used that sort of like intense like space NASA talk. Like,
well, it sounds like that's conspiracy talk. Like I need to meet with you right now. It's important. Like that's
exactly.
That's some like enemy of the state kind of dialogue for sure.
I was really hoping that would flick a switch in his head and have him write me back, but I don't know. He probably doesn't. Like every celeb has their DMs open on Instagram for some reason, and
really?
I doubt that they ever actually read it. Like I've DM'd Fred Durst so many times.
Does he get back to you?
Writes back. No.
Why not?
I don't know. Fred Durst is like really cool right now, though. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if you follow him on Instagram, but
no,
he's like always like reading John Joseph from Cro-Mag's book, and he like went to a DRI show the other week, and like he's becoming a corpsman.
That's awesome. I mean, he looks like when he grows out his beard, like he looks cool. Like
yeah.
Fred Durst kind of looks like I believe him as a sick core man, but
there's literally nothing about him that's not cool. Like his main feed is just those vintage 70s station wagons with wood paneling on the side. Like he only posts those, and then in his story he's always like reading John Joseph or reading about veganism or like suggesting tons of things that suggest he's a hardcore kid. But then also he always has like jazz bands practice in his living room. And I read like on I think maybe it was LA Weekly, but I know we're supposed to boycott them now because some bad men bought out LA Weekly.
Oh yeah, true. Okay.
But somewhere in LA, maybe it was them. I can't remember. But they interviewed him like, "Why are there always jazz bands on your Instagram?" And he's like, "Oh, well, ever since I saw La La Land, I decided that jazz is cool, so I started my own jazz night in LA."
What?
You could go to a Fred Durst jazz night.
Wow. Okay. Well, next time, like either of us are in LA, that has to be like a priority, and maybe we can like get a clip of him for the pod because he must have some Blink stories. Like they must have like interacted.
I also just like there's things to suggest that he's gone straight edge even, and there's all these cool things about Fred that are making me think like I would love to interview him because I feel like his midlife crisis is just becoming a really cool guy. I respect it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. Like, I want to talk more about Fred Durst, but I do think it's like really fucked up that you didn't prioritize the pod while you were in Park City. Like, I just want to go back. Just like I saw that and I wasn't like, oh, what a bummer. Like, I saw that and I thought like
you were mad. I could tell.
Yeah,
you did a little comment on Insta. You were like,
yeah, well, because I feel like what's important to you, Josiah? Like what matters to you? And you tell me that you care about the pod and you say that you lose yourself in the research and you don't know what kind of person you are and that like the sort of
here's the thing.
Synapses of your brain are broken, but
I was just sitting there feeling so depressed and dejected because it was a dead end. There was no location tag. I was zoomed in on the photo and I saw this like black rock wall that almost looked like it had maybe a thin waterfall stream. And I was like racking my brain, like, have I been to a place that looks like that here? Do I recognize this place? But I don't think because the other thing is most of the parties, and I'm sure he was there to schmooze for his like space company, the movie side of it. But most of the like wheeling and dealing seems to happen in like private Airbnb houses that have been rented out. So I'm sure he was probably at like a house with a bunch of Universal reps or some shit like that,
I just think it's really fucked up. Like you've been going to this festival for 3 years. Like, you should have found a way to get into these parties, because after 3 years of going to a festival, I would say you and wife of the pod, Sarah, are in many ways natives.
Well, okay. After that, like clumsy intro, I don't even really know where to go with this now.
That was honestly, after the last couple of intros, I felt like that one just sort of came together, and I felt really good about it, because it's like there's a lot clumsier ways, or perhaps more like offensive ways, to transition using the word natives. And I think that ultimately I settled on one that like organically tied into the story you were telling.
I think the very nature of the word natives is that you can't really become one. Can you? Can you become a native of somewhere if you go there enough? I think native means you originated from there.
Yeah, I guess that's exactly what it means, right?
Let's just delete the whole thing and start all over again.
Do we the whole podcast? Like,
no,
all
just
29
let's
episodes?
delete the last week. I'll go back to Sundance. There's still like 5 days left. And then hopefully Tom will come back.
Well, I was going to say, maybe you could not
come.
fuck up this time and actually meet Tom.
I don't know. Okay, for two things I want to say. First of all, when there's a photo with no information, what do you do? Like, what was I supposed to do?
It's a small fucking town, dude. I don't know.
In my mind,
like,
I was creating
gumshoe
this, like,
reporting. Are you a journalist? Like what the
24,
fuck?
like Jack Bauer ass.
Yeah.
Like,
fucking
trying to triangulate
CTU,
the thing.
fucking Wally or whatever the guy's name is that dies.
Not to mention, you literally like work for a major label. Like, I feel like you could just call Tom. Like, you probably have his number already.
Yeah.
You probably have one of those like Rolodexes on your desk.
Yeah, it's in the company directory. You know who I talked to this week?
Send him some inter-office mail.
I will. In the biz though, I talked to the director of Ass Tent, the Blink-182 advertisement that never aired because of 9/11. And so I finally broached the subject of the pod with him. So I am using my industry connections to bring in heavy hitters like the director of Ass Tent, the Blink-182 commercial that never aired because of 9/11. So I'm pulling my weight, man. Like I'm doing pretty well. But like while I'm reaching out to Ass Tent, you're the one out there reaching out to.
I'm looking for like this is where the podcast turns into like Serial. I mean I only know what Serial's about through like people pod-splaining it to me because I've never listened to it.
And like watching SNL, because you watch SNL every week too.
Yeah, I know, because I hate myself. But yeah, like there's like a missing man actually.
Well, yeah. So for people, I want to put this in context as well. Like for people who aren't, avid followers of the Twitter and haven't picked up that it's very obviously Josiah. Josiah, in addition to being the only one that does research and preparation for these episodes, also runs all of the socials. And I just show up.
I'm basically an intern.
yeah, exactly. So you're the one who's really like developing the connections, like with the friends and the fans of the pod. Like, you're on there every day, you're talking to them, and of course, Bill Billingsley.
There's certain people that sort of like stoke my interest because of how ridiculous they are, and one of them is definitely Bill Billingsley. Yeah, who is like. He's like a papa of the pod almost.
I was about to say dad of the pod. That's fully his vibe.
I mean, he gives me a little bit, and I mean this as an absolute compliment, but he gives me a little bit of a Randy Quaid vibe.
Oh, yeah. But like, I as a compliment, yes, I agree.
Yeah, but also I still like crazy Randy Quaid. And actually, maybe that's the connection here. But either way, so Bill Billingsley is this middle-aged, I think, man who lives in Carlsbad, California. He just followed us one day and would constantly tweet at us to follow him back. And then I did, and then I saw all he ever does is tweet at every member of Blink-182 to follow him back. So I'm like, hell yeah, I love this guy. He's hilarious. He started doing like reviews of our podcast and like quizzes and stuff. Like he was like a great Blink-155 Twitterer.
Yeah, and he's always going to Tom's office. So I guess the To the Stars Academy of Arts and Sciences has a public-facing office in San Diego. And so he also like regularly goes there and like will tweet at Tom like while looking at Tom's desk and posting photos of Tom's desk on Twitter.
he tweeted at us like, if you go there during regular business hours, you can like stare at Tom through the glass. So maybe that's what I'll have to do now that I've missed my opportunity with Tom.
Yeah.
But anyways, so Bill Billingsley, great guy, and I haven't publicly said this yet. I said this to you only, but I had messaged him because I thought, why don't we kick off 2018 with like a Happy New Year's message from Papa of the Pod, Bill Billingsley.
Would have been amazing.
So I had messaged him like, let's talk, and he's like, I'm really sorry. I'd love to share a New Year's message with you, but I'm going to be away this week because I'm going to Las Vegas to see Travis Barker perform a New Year's Eve show. Which, like, I mean, that's pretty awesome.
It's the truest way to spend New Year's if you are a Blink 155 fan. I think everyone listening to this pod who didn't go to Las Vegas and like whatever club Travis was at and spent, I'm sure, an exorbitant amount of money to sort of look at him at a table from, 200 feet away. Like, you fucked up. You're not a real fan of the pod or the band, but there's still time. Maybe next New Year's you can redeem yourself.
Totally. But then he arrived there. He like shared videos of him and his wife by the Bellagio or whatever, like all this shit. And then I don't know if you've seen his last two tweets, but basically on New Year's Eve. So, and if you want to follow along, it's the Twitter user WSB333, which is just a total dad Twitter handle.
Yeah, totally.
But his last two things are like a photo of the Travis Barker banner in the lobby of the nightclub, and then a photo of his Blink-182 hat with a Sharpie as if he was going to get it signed. And now this is a man who is like on Twitter all the time, all day. And then literally he tweeted these two photos on December 31st and has completely disappeared from the face of the earth.
Yeah. Like, there's just no sign of him. And so I think we've talked about it on subsequent pods, but like, it's important for people to know, like, this is the thing you and I talk about, like, between recording episodes. Like, we're like, what do you think happened to Bill? Because, like, he was the sort of, like, truly lovable, like, genuinely kind of like my favorite character that has entered the sort of, like, sphere of this pod. Because he seems like he's lovable, he's quirky in a way, but he seems like when we kind of joke about him, because he seems like this nice dad, like, you can kind of like have a laugh at his expense. Like, I think the first time we mentioned him on the pod, I don't remember the episode, but I think you called his Twitter like kind of sad. And now all he does is tweet at you and be like, how's my sad Twitter now, Josiah? Like,
yeah, like he'll say that, and then it's like a screenshot that the official Blink-182 account like faved one of his tweets.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's still deeply sad, Bill. Love you. But I don't know what happened. All I know is, so then fast forward to this week, and I just like, because I've been a little bit slacking on the socials because I've been like actually doing work in Sundance. But then I noticed a notification, and someone named Nate Billingsley had tweeted at us. And I was like, yo, are you related to Bill? Like, I just figured, oh, it's probably just a coincidence. But they wrote, yeah. So then I got in the DMs with Nate Billingsley.
So Nate Billingsley confirmed is related. It's another Billingsley, and you're up in the DMs. And so at some point yesterday, you kind of texted me and you were like, yo, I'm getting the real shit. And then so my journey with this has been you telling me that you were getting the real shit. But then you were like,
to think that just even 10 minutes ago you were questioning whether or not I'm a journalist, and then now here I am, like, literally finding a missing man. It's crazy.
This is full on like serial. Like, I actually would love if like the whole scope of the podcast ultimately changed, and this was like a true like long con of like the episodes are increasingly less and less about Kimya Dawson and Blink-182 and more about Bill Billingsley until like we're spending 2 hours per week exclusive
on Bill Billingsley.
Yeah, and then like occasionally we'll mention that Blink is still a band.
Well, I also like I have a feeling that our guest this week could potentially bring in new listeners, in which case I really hope that just skip this section.
Yeah, you want to jump ahead.
This is for the
like
true
an hour.
heads only.
Yeah,
this is for the true heads only.
We've done a lot of contextualizing the story, so I think it's worthwhile.
So Nate Billingsley. So I hopped in the DMs and I said, "Are you for real related to Bill? Why isn't he on Twitter anymore?" And he wrote, "Yeah, LOL." And then hours passed by. He didn't answer me, so I said, Where did he go? He just straight up disappeared. Also, is he your dad? Please answer. It took him forever. This is what Nate said. Like, this is when I texted you and said, like, yo, something dark has happened. I don't think we should talk about Bill Billingsley for a while.
Yeah, you said we got to leave it alone for a minute.
Until we know what's up, because he said, this was his answer. I said, where did he go? And Nate said, I know a lot about it. Can't talk about it now, though. Like, what the fuck?
See, this is dark. This is what you were trying to do when you slid into Tom's DMs with, like, I have to talk to you. It's very, like...
Exactly.
Actually, no, you fucked up, because what you're kind of doing similar, like, rhetoric, but, like, opposite, I guess, technique, because Nate's using the curiosity gap, right? Like, popularized by Upworthy, more so than BuzzFeed, but like that, Josiah DM'd Nate Billingsley, and what happened next will blow your mind. And you're like, well, I have to click it. Whereas you, to Tom, said, I have to meet you. Like, where are you? You should have said, like, Tom, I want to meet you, but they won't let me.
True.
Like,
I mean, I was literally DMing him in the middle of a movie that I was reviewing for work. So it was kind of, I wasn't able to use so many, like, pickup artist techniques or whatever.
I want to I just want to ask you this totally hypothetical question, and then we should get back to the matter at hand. If Tom had messaged you back and said, like, oh, I'm just at, like, the HBO party or whatever, even though you were reviewing that movie for work, would you have left the movie?
Officially, on the record, I'll say, of course not, Sam. Reviewing movies is a age-old tradition that needs to be fucking... No, of course I would have, obviously.
Okay, good.
The movie wasn't even good, first of all. It was, like, so mediocre, and I had already reviewed, like, 14 movies by then. So, absolutely, I would have, like, walked uphill both ways. Like, are you kidding me?
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure. That's all. Because I've been throwing around a lot of accusations about your priorities, and it's refreshing to hear.
If I had known, I honestly, because Park City's like, I think 40 minutes away from Salt Lake City, and I was already thinking if Tom messages back and is like, "Oh, I left already, but I'm at my hotel in Salt Lake waiting for my plane tomorrow," I would have just like Ubered to Salt Lake City. Like I would have done whatever.
I believe you, and that's good. Okay, so.
So anyways, back to Nate.
You're back to Nate. So what does Nate say that makes you message me and say, we can't talk about Bill Billingsley anymore?
Well, it was that sentence. I know a lot about it. Can't talk about it now, though. I mean, with no context, that's so dark. That's so crazy. Like, what in my mind, I'm like, did he fucking die on New Year's Eve? Or did he, like, go crazy? Was it like The Hangover or something? Like, Bill Billingsley went too wild and had to remortgage his house because of the Travis Barker party? Anyways, so Nate told me after that, Bill is his uncle. So we're talking to a nephew of Bill.
Okay.
And I said, you don't have to tell me any details, but is there something sketchy going on? Like, should we stop talking about it? And then he said, no, you're totally fine. It's funny. I'm not sure why he got off Twitter. So Bill is alive and well. He just stopped going on Twitter.
Well, he's probably more than alive and well. At that point, he's alive and thriving, free from the shackles of social media.
Nate he always uses this. He always uses these like teases. I said, is he okay? It's so weird that he disappeared after New Year's Eve. Like those last photos are so ominous,
Yeah.
But then Nate said, this is like a total Tom DeLonge tactic. He said, yeah, he's fine. He may have something cool coming up, but I don't know for sure. I'd keep a lookout. LOL. What does that mean? Curiosity
gap, man. I love Nate Billingsley.
He also sent me a photo that Bill took of Travis on New Year's Eve.
That's sick.
And he said he sent me that after the Vegas show, but we haven't talked much after that. Maybe he does roll with Travis now. I don't know. All I know is like he's clearly alive, and he's just has gone off Twitter, and I don't know why. But I don't know what this big thing that he has in the works is going on.
Well, Bill, look, we would love to be a part of your big plan. So, we understand if you don't want to be a public figure, and we respect that. But you can still, use Twitter to DM the pod account. And if you have something cooking, maybe we can sort of help give it that boost. The patented Blink 155 boost, the same that we've done for great products like Blood Brothers Brewery and
MXPX
memes and weed. So we're happy to support your endeavor, your product, in whatever way
like
we can.
or if you want to like part ways, it's totally fine. But we've been so communicative in the past, and you can't just like ghost us like this, Bill.
Yeah.
You need to move on with your life and go back to being a middle-aged man who doesn't just think about a punk band for teenagers. That's totally understandable, and everyone goes through that phase. But you can't just ghost us like this. Like we need to know what's up so that we can replace you with a Matt Skiba type figure.
Yeah, I want to dress someone just like Bill Billingsley, convince the kids that it's the same. You know, it's funny. You and I both have been in long-term committed relationships for a long time. Like I've been with my wife of the pod for over 10 years. You've been with your wife of the pod for like 20 or something.
Yeah, like we're up to the Rust anniversary. Is that one?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. It might be unofficial, but it's there. And so, like, I've never experienced, like, you know, when I started dating my wife, I had a pager. Like, I didn't even have
Her
a phone.
name's Ashley.
Yeah, I couldn't remember for a second. Thank you. So, like, I've never experienced the agony of ghosting in any sort of relationship, and so now, kind of having a sense of what it feels like I just can't imagine going through this. Like this is agony. Like emotionally, I am wretched apart. I'm broken.
This must be what it's like to just be someone's Tinder conquest.
Yeah,
And just be left, just be dumped aside right away after they've used you for. I'm not really sure what Bill got out of his side of the transaction, but you know.
I mean, we talked about him a lot on a very popular podcast. So, you know,
I'm just now that I think I'm ready to stop talking about him till he comes back, but mostly because I'm so satisfied that I finally figured out that he reminds me of Randy Quaid. He's like a pop punk Randy Quaid, and that makes me so happy.
You just had this itch in the back of your brain, and it's scratched, and you're good now.
Yeah, now I'm good until Bill comes back. That's it. So everyone listening, say goodbye to Bill Billingsley. We're not going to mention him again until he comes back.
Yeah, but don't say goodbye. He's not dead. He's just, you know.
Well, unless Nate is covering it up. I was thinking, like, what if Nate is a double agent? He's trying to cover up that Bill's gone.
Well, as on the next episode of S-Town, you know, we'll find out. So, Josiah, what do you think of the Blink-182 song "Natives"? You're not prepared to talk about it? You were all ready with your Danny McBride memes.
Let me just do research for a couple hours here first, and then we'll get back to it.
No problem, man. I'll just
I like
check
it.
out my emails.
Actually, I like it.
Dude,
I know
the song
that you
rules.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna be hyperbolic about it, but
It's
it is
so
good. It's really
so good.
Yeah, I don't even remember Neighborhoods, to be honest, when it came out. I remember being kind of bummed out by Up All Night and then starting to love it. But then I think until we did this pod, I had only ever listened to the album like twice, maybe. All the way
Really?
through. Yeah, maybe. Well, actually, no. I tried to make my wife of the pod, Sarah, listen to it with me on a road trip. And then around the time we got to Love Is Dangerous, she made me turn it off. So I got pretty far in, but then she was like, you need to fucking turn this off right now.
It's true. I actually, like, in looking at the lyrics and sort of, like, thinking about this song again, sort of more aggressively for the first time in a couple of years, saw the track list for Neighborhoods and was reminded that it keeps going after Love Is Dangerous. And I think my experience with the record was maybe similar to Sarah's, which is, like, after that, I was like, I just can't. So when we do those songs that come after Love Is Dangerous, it'll be brand new to me. Like, those are, like, truly, you know, just like hidden, like, you know, long gone Blink rarities.
Actually, now that you say that, it only keeps going on the deluxe edition. So maybe we didn't even make it that far. I think we made it to. Oh no, maybe we did. I think Wishing Well she was bummed about when he's like.
Oh, Wishing Well rules.
Yeah, it is really good. Again, now that I've revisited it, but actually seeing that Love Is Dangerous is the final one of the non-deluxe version. The album's pretty good.
Yeah, like, we should show some more respect to Neighborhoods. I feel like we haven't done a lot of Neighborhoods tracks. So,
well, we've done Ghost on the Dance Floor and Up All Night. I think that's it.
So
it's still Tom. We're
still kind of in Tom season a little bit when it comes to Neighborhoods. But like this song kind of sounds like a Blink-182 song, much more than anything else on this record. right?
Yeah, I think when I went back to it, I remembered why I didn't like it at first, and I think it's because it's like, at first I thought it was too pensive of a Blink-182 song. Like, they have all the elements of a classic Blink song, but they don't want to admit it, so then they just have Travis doing like bullshit drum stuff the whole time. Like, I always wished that the song would sort of come in with a solid beat eventually, but I feel like he's just sort of wanking the toms the whole time.
There's definitely he's getting those toms hard, like for sure.
And I ain't talking too long.
No, but well, okay, no, it's fine. It's definitely got some like extremely Travis being Travis stuff on it, but to me, it feels more reminiscent of something from Self-Entitled than it does like weaker stuff on California. Maybe like that, it feels kind of like it's still in that experimental vein of like trying to sort of put a few different disparate pieces together in a way that could actually be cohesive, as opposed to just like playing a fill because it's impressive and it's what you're supposed to do when you're Travis Barker playing in this band.
That's definitely, it's true, but I guess I mean more like the actual riff and the chord progression is more like a take off your pants and jacket kind of song. But then they probably were like, oh fuck, we can't go back. Like, I feel like this sort of would be what California would have sounded like if Tom was still in it, because it's like it is them referencing their past, but it's experimental. And all of that is to say, I do like it now, but my first impression was like, when will the song actually come in? Kind of.
Right, and then it's over. It's so sad.
And also I will say also, I mean, this is what I always do, and actually this is sort of good related to Sundance, because so when I go to Sundance, I see all these movies for the first time. Like, they're the first time they're being shown, and they're usually, a lot of the movies will be out all year long. So I'm one of the first people to review them, and I always think, maybe I'll actually get quoted in a movie trailer. Wouldn't that be cool? Like, I would be so stoked. But then I always, when it inevitably doesn't happen, I always go back and look at my review of that movie, and like, I never just give compliments. They're always backhanded compliments. Like, I can't just say, I always say stuff like, this director usually sucks ass, but he accidentally made a good movie this time. Good for him. So, like, no wonder they don't include me in trailers. But
yeah,
same with the song.
You gotta write.
Like, I like this song, and now here's 10 things that suck about it.
Right. Yeah, why can't this just be a celebration of the song? And, you know, we should mention we have a guest on this podcast. I know for some reason you like to like keep it a secret until the end or whatever, even though it's in the title. But Hanif Abdurraqib, whose book I read during my sort of dark disappearance in January.
Oh God, bragging about reading a book for real?
I know. Sorry, this honestly should maybe be the third book that you read.
But now this book, you've sort of explained it to me that it's related to Fall Out Boy.
Yeah. So
is that
like,
right?
Yeah. So he writes like about a mixture of, you know, like emo and like sort of like pop punk culture, but then like much bigger and more important cultural stuff. So it'll flip between like an essay about Fall Out Boy and then like an essay about Michael Brown. And, you know, so it's like equal parts about being an aging like emo kid and also being like a black Muslim in America in you know, 2017, I guess, when it was published. So it's just like, but in a way that like totally works, which just combines all of these like fantastic fucking ideas. And there's a lot of stuff about Fall Out Boy in there.
Okay, first of all, do you have to like Fall Out Boy to like it, or
I don't like Fall Out Boy, and so I found it the most compelling argument though for the relevancy of Fall Out Boy that I've heard. So
I like how your way of selling the book on me was like trying to make it relatable. You're like, yeah, it's about being an aging emo kid, and I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds relatable. And then you're like, who's also like a black Muslim growing up in America, in racially divided America.
Yeah. You know, the experience that you had growing up in Abbotsford, British Columbia, Josiah.
I understand the aging emo kid part.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
well, maybe it would do you well to develop some empathy. But anyway, so you know, we get pretty deep on the like interplay between Tom like vocally and like what Travis does, and so I'm very excited about that conversation. I had a reason for saying that besides just interjecting it.
Well, because I think you knew I was about to shit all over what Tom does with the song.
Right. My point is like he had this very like positive point of view on this song and had sort of the ability to speak intelligently about the band in a way that you and I totally lack, which is a shame because we're going to spend the next 2.5 years of our lives talking about them, endlessly. And then
I'm gonna if you keep saying that I'm not smart, I'm just gonna do a talking strike. Like as a protest, I just won't talk on the podcast, like a walkout.
Oh wow!
But I'll make sure that you know that I'm still here. Like it's not disconnected, but I'll just I'll turn on the pod, hit record, and then be silent.
And then I'll just get to do like my kind of all the small things episode where I'll just slowly lose my mind and unravel before our listenership.
That would have been really funny if we pretended that you were there the whole time.
But if you had sort of given space, so like people were just like, oh, they fucked up when they exported this episode and like Sam's thing isn't there. And so you just like pause.
I am curious.
Laugh at my jokes.
I guess I'll wait to listen, but I'm curious what he thought. So he liked the lyrics?
Yeah, he thinks that he has some like evocative phrasing. And I was like, it's like mixing metaphors, it's whatever. And again, like this interview is to come in this episode, but his point is like, so he's also like a poet and a poetry editor, and he was like, I kind of give musicians a pass because they have like just a more limited scope they can work in, like as opposed to someone who's like writing outside of a like 4/4 time frame. So right. He was down with the lyrics.
But I think maybe like working with poetry has made him more like desensitized or forgiving of how, like, I think that sometimes things are just viscerally cringy and embarrassing, and like you have to just, like, the average person is not okay with things like, I'm like a cat in a cage, locked up, battered, and bruised. I am the prodigal son, a shameful prodigy too. That is so awful.
No, he's
That's
a cat
horrifying.
And he's a man in a cage.
But also, like,
he's a cat man.
We know that I love a Bible drop, but and then adding prodigal son is, I feel like the Bible drop prodigal son is like pretty entry level biblical reference, bro. But the main thing that really bothers me about the lyrics, well, actually, while I'm still talking about the verses, I do feel like Tom is really in like Tom delivery mode. Like he says like braised. It's like really gross how he sings it.
He definitely, his Tomness is sharp on this song.
And I think it also might be because I actually read that when Tom quit again and Travis was shit talking him in the media, Travis said that like Tom didn't even listen to the mixes or masters of this album. Like he just did not care at all. But I do feel like this song especially is where the album does sound really disjointed because like I feel like the vocals just sound way too loud. They're covering everything up and there's so much cool music going on, but then you just hear him say braised.
I don't know. I mean, the mix on it doesn't bother me, but like I think it's fair to say like the disjointedness for sure. But like, do you really think the mix is that fucked up on this song?
Well, I generally don't really like when vocals are super loud. Kind of I bet you love it. You probably want to just hear the harms and the pellas.
That's it, man. Just drop a pella on me and oh boy.
My favorite mix is like when you're at a show and the mic isn't loud enough and everyone complains about it after. I like that.
Right. No, because I'm like a pop music
everything
fan.
To be burying it. Yeah, I know, and I am too. But for some reason, I prefer hearing the guitars and stuff like this.
Oh, because you're a real rocker, eh?
Yeah,
Josiah's a rocker.
Yeah, but Tom is embarrassing in the verses. But really, I think the biggest crimes come from Mark in this song.
That I definitely agree with. I kind of think the Tom stuff is like fun and Tommy, but the Mark stuff is, and again, I think the song is good. No wonder you never get quoted on a movie poster.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how we like this song. What the fuck?
Hang on.
Okay, go.
First of all, I think Mark's voice in general sounds very tired on this song. Like he just sounds like, I'm just a bastard child. I don't know. He sounds so like...
Is that your tired like, Mark?
Yeah.
Kind of croony.
Off the cuff.
Sick, okay.
It is a little croony, actually. But then the main thing I hate, and this is just me bringing my own personal vendettas to the song, but I really hate the word bastard a lot. Like, I really don't like the word bastard at all. It really grosses me out.
Like, is that because... Are you offended by it? I mean, what is it? Just like the way it sounds?
It's like there's a certain. It's typically actually like journalists, but they love to.
Is it just that you hate like the bourbon bastard, like that kind of
that sort of
caricature?
Thing, but there's specific people I can think of in my life that I know personally who are like journalists who like they do love pretending that they drink a lot, and they love pretending that they like need to break open the bourbon because of something that Trump said today or whatever, or like, oh, we're not going to get through this FOIP request without some bourbon. There's a dude I'm thinking of that I won't name, but I used to work with him at a different paper, and he's like the ultimate journalist, bro. And some of my
Mark Teo, friend of the pod, Mark Teo. Yes,
actually, me and Mark always share this guy's tweets because they're so cringy. But his like Twitter banner photo is literally a digital recorder and a notepad. And people like him love to A, say, what's a Kardashian? And B, say, oh, you bastard. What are you doing, you bastard? And they always talk in like a pseudo British accent, and they always write cheers on their emails, and they always talk about going for a pint. And I just, every time I hear the word bastard, I just think of some fucking a cuck, really, is what the one thing that the alt-right got right is that those kinds of journalists are cucks, absolutely.
So, I mean, a few points to address here. I mean, one, I sign my emails with cheers. I think it's a very friendly way to...
No, do you really?
Yeah, I write cheers with an exclamation point.
Oh.
Yeah, I do. That's how I end my emails.
With an exclamation point, not a comma.
No, I want people to know that I'm like, peace, have a good one. You know?
Oh man, that's crazy. I honestly didn't know that. I wasn't trying to put you on blast.
No,
but that's
it's fine.
Gross, and you should stop doing that.
Again, I'm the normie part of the pod. You're like the edgy,
bourbon
bastard part of the pod.
Do you go for a pint with your friends? You ever said let's go for a pint?
I don't think I've ever said let's go for a pint. So
cheers.
Yeah, but cheers is. I just think it's a nice way. I write my emails with a lot of exclamation points because I want people to know I'm not mad at them. You know.
I think I've sort of established a very I clearly have the upper hand with all the publicists that deal with me because there are some publicists who I recognize their names from my inbox, and in 10 years I've never replied to them ever once. And so I have this mystique where people don't even know if I'm real.
Right.
It's great.
You're just a bot that cranks out highly critical reviews of movies you like.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. I mean, yeah. Sorry, I guess cheers is the thing that people say.
It's fine.
In emails.
It's funny though that all those the bastard boys have not adopted more Hunter Thompson kind of slang, because I feel like they all think that they're Hunter Thompson. But
they really do, and
they've missed the nuances of his language and reduced it to bastard when it should be festering swine or mostly barnyard type sort of descriptions.
And and they do love Hunter S so much that they've also romanticized drinking in such a ridiculous way where when I still drank, I've gone drinking with all these fake Hunter ass people, and they have 1.5 drinks and then have to go pick up their kids from school. It's they don't drink at all. They clearly don't drink, but literally, I'm trying to think if this could ever get back to this guy. 3 minutes before we started this pod, it reminded me to talk about this because he posted a picture of himself kicking back in the bar with a pint and a book and the book he was reading. You could see the page and the pint. And he's like, I love being surrounded by people but not talking to them because I'm reading in the bar. Cheers.
Cheers, mate. So when Mark sings "bastard,"
I think
it just
when you're writing a
triggers
chorus,
you, and you think of the pint and the pageman.
Yeah, exactly. The pint and the pageman. Yeah, exactly. And
the pint and the pageman is definitely the name of some sub spotlight
journalist bar.
I'm thinking a movie about the power of journalism, right?
Oh yeah.
So it's now that the Post is nominated for all these fucking Oscars, and
it's I was thinking more the Done Right in Toronto. Let's go down to the pint and the pageman.
Yeah, the pint and the pageman is a shitty bar. The Done Right In is the best bar in Toronto.
Yeah, no, I remember that place as being good. But yeah, I think also when you're writing a chorus, shouldn't you make it so that there's just such a thing as whether or not it's viscerally pleasing, and I think they haven't answered that. They haven't asked themselves that question when writing this song, because the chorus starts with "I'm just a bastard child," and no matter how you cut it, that's not a good chorus. That's not a good lead for a chorus. And I know he's being literal, calling himself a bastard child, but I just can't do it.
What do you mean he's being literal? Is Mark a bastard?
No, I think when he says Oh, maybe he's not saying that. I guess when I saw the words bastard and child together, I thought he was saying like an actual bastard.
Yeah. So if you're saying he's being literal, are you saying like he's... Yeah. So he's not being literal.
Well, I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't know. What do any of these fucking lyrics mean? Who knows?
I mean, they're about kittens in cages and letting Mark go. I saw on Genius that some people think that this song is about them like having to prove that they're still punk while assholes like you and I dedicate hundreds of hours of our lives to tearing them to shreds.
Yeah, I know. And I, of course, I also read dozens of theories about how this is about how they hate each other.
Right.
Whatever.
I read one thing and I was like, that's going to be my fact for the pod.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
you're on JSTOR reading like various academic journals about the second song on Neighborhoods.
Yeah, like every song is about that, about them breaking up. Maybe it's about that. Is it about them wanting to still be punk? I mean, where's the proof in that?
Well, I don't think it's about them wanting to still be punk. It's about them being like, oh, we always have to prove to Josiah and Sam, the hosts of Blink-155, that we are punk when like we've been punk for a minute. We don't need to prove anything to Josiah and Sam.
You know what I love about that is that, like, I was just reminded of this when we were talking about, oh, fuck, I'm going to mention him again, Bill Billingsley. But
dude, you fucked up.
That photo that I showed you, it's Blink-182 merch, and on the hat it says crappy punk rock. And their merch has said that for, like, however long. And I know they don't design their own merch, but at the same time, when I interviewed Mark for Exclaim a few years ago, and I had read quotes like this in the past, but he said that they've stopped calling themselves a punk band like decades ago. Like he said they decided they weren't going to use the word punk anymore.
I think that's respectful.
I do too, and I'm like, that makes sense, but then their merch still says crappy punk rock on it.
Yeah, you're right. So he's full of shit?
I mean, look, not to continually beat it over the head that I'm criticizing them, but...
Would you say he's a bit of a bastard?
Oh, 'tis a bastard.
So what other theories did you uncover as relates to natives?
I kind of just stopped reading the theories because I don't know.
So you found 12 theories, but you didn't read 12 theories. You're not trying that hard.
No, because they were all just like, oh, it's about, someone was saying it's about how Tom could never come back to this band, and this was him admitting that he's not really into it when he's doing Neighborhoods or something. I don't know. I mean, I think these lyrics are so like. We'll let the poetry editor tell us what the lyrics.
Yeah,
mean.
let him get into it. You know, I think it's interesting that people project that on so much of this band and this record that it's about how much they hate each other. When like this is not like Richard and Linda Thompson. Like this is not Fleetwood Mac. Like there are famous records that are written by people who were like in love together and documented the dissolution of their relationship. And it's really obvious. Like this does not sound like Shoot Out the Lights.
Yeah, I think, looking at it again now, there's some stuff where you're like, well, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, also because really when you're just writing a song, there's going to be some sort of tension if there's a narrative structure at all. So obviously, if there's any tension, since we don't really know too much about Tom and Mark, and they've been married forever too, so we just assume that they're talking about each other because it's the only tension we know of in their lives.
Yeah.
Other than Tom versus the government, I guess.
Yeah, that's I guess an increasing one, and it'll be very interesting to see where the next Boxcar Racer album goes because of that fresh conflict that he has.
Yeah, which is a good place to plug the Sclusy. So give us your money, please.
Oh yeah, please.
But talking about how this could be what California sounded like, Mark Hoppus, when this came out, he told NME that this song also was, and this is actually kind of surprising, but this song was like bashed out in a couple hours too.
Really?
So he said, Travis was in the studio one day working on an entirely different project, and he came up with this beat and got the engineer to record about 30 seconds of it and loop it. Tom and I then went into the studio and pieced the song together. It all went really fast. Within 2 or 3 hours of hearing the beat, we'd written the skeleton of the song, and I'd already written the chorus. It was a magical moment in the studio, and when I heard the song, it makes me happy.
Aw. See, he loves Blink. It makes him happy. Metaphors anecdotes like that always make me think of, I think the first time I remember reading an interview with an artist kind of describing like, it's like when I was like trying to like start writing music or whatever. And so like you're always reading about how other people fucking do it or whatever. And I read an interview with Collective Soul where one of the souls
Christian rock
are
band.
they? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So one of the souls was describing how the world that I know came together, and that they're like, yeah, this song got written in like 25 minutes, and I was like, that's it. Every good song just fucking comes right out. So in the vein of the Collective Soul, Major Rager, the world that I know, Natives is also
actually,
just like a quick ditty.
That's pretty funny because that's the kind of thing I would do is read a Collective Soul interview. Christian rock.
Yeah.
This morning, I saw Jake Goldsby had tweeted a link to Matt Skiba ranking all of the Alkaline Trio records on Noisy.
Okay.
And I clicked that. I was
What?
shocked as I was clicking it. I was like, oh, I'll see what he says. Why not? I don't give a shit. I'll fucking click whatever. I don't mind.
You know who loves
Anyway.
Matt Skiba too? Is guest of the pod this week, Hanif Abdurraqib. So another.
Oh my
I
God.
know, right? He's a smart man.
Well, anyways, Matt Skiba was saying that one of the records they did with Jerry Finn, he was telling them also to record as quickly as possible. And Matt Skiba, I don't know if this is true or not, but Matt Skiba said that Jerry Finn is the person who coined the phrase first thought, best thought.
I don't think that that's true.
Yeah,
That's
there's
like
no way.
That's just a phrase.
That's like, I think that was Shakespeare or something.
I think so, yeah. It's in the Bible. It was written by Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
And
It's
the
in
Lord said unto thee.
It's in the Apocrypha, which is like the deluxe edition of the Bible, the deleted bonus tracks.
Is that like the Bible's parking lot or whatever?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Apocrypha.
The Bibles can't get you more pregnant?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I think it's so when you hear that, then you're like, damn, if they had tried to do the California thing, like first thought, best thought, and Tom was there, then there would have been all this like weird tension again, and it would have been amazing.
Well, I mean, again, every time we come back to this record, which I didn't love at the time, and obviously like did not really return to with any vigor until we started doing this podcast, it's so depressing to listen to California afterwards, because like on this record, it at least feels like it's an honest depiction of where they were, and that tension is like, not even hidden below the surface. Like it's just all kind of laid out in terms of the way the songs are even fucking structured. And then you come to California and it's just like this, grotesque interpretation of what they used to be, right?
Yeah, because, I mean, we've beaten this into the ground at this point, but yeah, Mark is the normie who brings things back to sounding like pop punk, and Tom is the one who's like, let's put as many metaphors as possible into every sentence. And they're like, okay, if it'll make you shut up, we'll do that.
I do wish that there was more pop punk in this song, though, because the stuff where it like goes into halftime in the verses and you get like the weird phasing effect, I'm like, it's too much, guys.
See, okay, I'm glad you said that. That was another thing I was going to say that bummed me out at first and made me feel like the song was starting the whole time. But I will also say, when it comes to Travis, the bullshit breakdown part, like the instrumental part, I actually love. I think it's really cool. It sounds really high budget. Like everything just sounds so crazy and clear.
High budget. Like the rest of it sounds like, like a solid independent release or something.
It kind of does. Like something about the mix just sounds, and I don't really know much about like mixing or production, as you can tell if you listen to any of my bands. But it's the rest of it just sounds like a garage band demo, and then that part is like so like it's like a movie soundtrack. I
was about to like talk about your band, and before prenup kind of came out of my mouth, the words pre-op sort of appeared in my mind. Which, if I can make it, I know that it's like a funny haha joke because you play it in a band with your wife, but I think Pre-Op is also a good band name, maybe. Or not. Maybe it's not.
Well, I'm glad you've had that little monologue.
I've gone on a journey here. So how are you, Josiah?
Quite bad. No, but actually, to continue shitting on this song that I've said that I like.
Yeah.
I also think that maybe all the parts repeat too many times. Like, does it need to be 4 minutes long?
Right. It is. Yeah, it is too long. You know what's funny is like, could we write a better record? Like, you know what I mean? Like our junior battles and prenup / pre-hop, your band, like, we're not better? Like, imagine if someone did a podcast where they tore apart.
You're not better.
Right. Okay. So what I would like is for someone to start, prenup 13 or like, I don't know how many songs you guys have. And like do this thing where they just like belittle every creative choice that you've made on a song that they otherwise like.
That's the normie knee jerk to this sort of thing because
I'm coming back to like feeling like I'm too negative and Mark will never come on the pod.
Well, that's probably true, but at the same time, I'm saying this because I love it because what I'm describing is like to go back to being a journalism bastard. I'm describing like editing basically. Like this is a first draft where all these things I'm talking about. There should have just been another draft of the song, and then it would have been like one of their best songs ever.
How much do you think it would cost to like
here we go
produce one song with Blink-182? Because like there's a lot of bands that I mean I think it was sort of maybe trendy for a minute, and then people started to realize it was gross or just like kind of weird, where there were like websites that sort of maybe like mid-tier musicians would kind of make their services available. So you could hire like the guy from Say Anything to write a birthday song, for your significant other for like $1,000 or something. Right. And so and all of these people, like every musician, every celebrity is for sale. I mean, all people are ultimately for sale, but like you can be like an evil dictator, in like some remote corner of the world. And if you pay, enough money to Nelly Furtado, she will come and perform in your slave kingdom. So like, there's no way that there is not like a price that Blink-182 goes for. So like, what would it take? How many years of Patreon dollars would we have to put away to record a Blink song and utilize?
So like we would write the song, but then make them perform it?
No.
I think that would be interesting.
That's an interesting idea. No, I think so all the things that we think have gone wrong with the band, where it's like co-writers and Feldy, we cut Feldy out. It's just us. And we say, bring us your ideas, boys. And then we work together and we correct the mistakes of the past. We take out all the flangy pre-choruses and we craft the perfect Blink-155, Blink-182 song.
I mean, I think what you're describing is so ridiculous and far-fetched, but it also makes me think, what if we actually did try to write a perfect Blink-182 song one day? Like what if at the end of this podcast project, our final exclusive is a Blink-182 song that we've written?
Yes, I think that's it. So we do the like 1 week long Damn It episode and then a exclusive of our perfect Blink-182 song. I think that's a good goal to have.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we have enough of the tension that they have that we might be able to pull it off.
By the end of this, for fucking sure.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I'm not like, I don't shit on things because I do like shitting on things and it's fun and it makes me feel good inside. But I'm also doing it because I think it could be so much better, and then I want it to be better. I want them to thrive because I love them. Right,
that's it. That comes from a place of love, and I think
I'm not mad. It's like I'm not mad. I'm disappointed.
Right. So you like Natives, but it makes you sad also.
Yeah, like I will say that it's hard to come up with like a hammer-on pop punk riff that doesn't sound totally contrived and generic, and Tom has done it once again here. Like, the riff is really good.
It's a sick riff. And I feel like that style of guitar playing, like as much as they tried to make Matt Skiba look like Tom, you don't get these riffs in Blink anymore. Like, this is a classic Choi Page, Enema, like Blink.
Yeah.
There aren't even many of these riffs on Self-Entitled. Like, it's a classic.
Yeah, and when Skiba does these riffs, we've talked about this before, they sound generated, kind of.
Yeah.
And also, like, Mark's doing, like, it sounds like he's doing some bass chords sometimes, maybe. And also the chord progression itself, like, kind of feels like it comes in on the second chord of what would normally be a chord run. Like it's the song. The song's very interesting and very well done.
So
But
they can put that on the poster for the song. Very interesting and very well done. It's just, and then I cut you off.
Like I feel like if I ever do get in or like a trailer, the quote will just be mostly be ellipses. Like it'll just be ... good ... movie.
You got to write with posters in mind, dude. Like that's what all like Peter Travers just writes sentences that can each be pulled out and put on a movie poster. It's a strategy, and you got to build your own brand, and you're not doing it, man.
I know my brand is a mess. It's true.
Well, your brand is mostly just like mean sarcasm on the internet.
Yeah,
which is a good brand. It's a good.
Look where it's gotten me.
I know, dude. The most
alone in a room. With the mic.
Yeah, no, you're not alone. I'm, across the country. So, are there Natives covers? Have we moved on to covers?
Yeah. Well, no, we're not there yet.
Okay.
There's a couple. Well,
we started when I called you before we were recording. I was like, "How you doing?" And you sounded like pretty low energy, and you're like, "I'm good. I'm pretty beat." And I was like, "Oh, well, got a good guest this week, so like we can just talk for like 45 minutes, and the episode will still be long. Don't worry about it." And you were like, "Oh no, I'm not that tired." So
yeah, exactly. Actually, well, here's one. I knew that there's going to be, even without much notes, I knew there'd be a lot to talk about because there's like so much, so much shit talking to do about it.
Yeah, there's a lot happening in the world.
But they, the thing is, they did actually play this song live quite a bit, and it's kind of interesting to hear. Like they played it at sound checks only.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I would love to hear this song.
Actually, they played it on stage once or twice, but they mostly played it at sound checks. And when you actually, that makes me think when you were talking about how every band has a price. Blink-182 does do this thing where you can pay like an obscene amount of money to watch them sound check, or you can pay an even more obscene amount of money to do like a quick photo op.
Sick.
Like what they do with Vine stars and Chasing Cameron, that sort of thing. And like it seems so. Have we already talked about this before? Because you were saying that that's like how capitalism works.
Yeah, that sounds
me, it
like
seems
something
so
cool.
unethical.
I would say.
Oh, it's so unethical. Like you pay like $600 just to like pose with them for 1 second.
Dude, we are monetizing every second of our lives. We monetize our private time.
Do you think
now.
Do you think Elle and Dakota Fanning had to pay for that with Tom at Sundance?
I think they did. Yeah. I think he has a guy who he's like one of those like the guys that dress up like Batman or whatever on Hollywood Boulevard or wherever it is, and when you you just think you can take a photo with them, but then afterwards they're like it's $20, and you're like I don't know.
He pulls out an iPad with the square thing on it.
Yeah,
and you have to swipe your
exactly.
Okay, here they are playing Natives at a sound check that people paid tons of money for.
Okay,
in 2013 in Hollywood.
Oh, sick.
Audio is like it's not the best audio. Hopefully when I plug it in it'll sound better, but especially like looking at it and hearing it, Tom does not look. When I imagine Tom playing this song, I imagine watching somebody like try to play guitar left-handed if they're right-handed or something. Like,
right.
Just so, but he's like so confident and playing everything perfectly and singing well, and like it's crazy.
I just don't know why they wouldn't play that in the set, because like they played new songs, and this is the second song on the record, so there's a good chance if people bought the record, they got to this song before they turned it off at Wishing Well.
I'm sure some nerd's going to get mad at me. They probably did play it live.
Well, if not, though, it wasn't a lot. Like, I don't think I've ever seen this song live, and I've seen Blink play, like, a handful of times.
Yeah, I think they quickly abandoned this era, other than Up All Night, which I think they still play. But I don't know. It sounds really good live.
Yeah, that was sick.
A big part of what I don't like about it is the production, because even if the vocals were quieter, I wouldn't notice how bad the lyrics are, and then I wouldn't be bummed about it.
So I'm sorry to hear that, man. I'm very sorry for you.
So there is also, so this is another one of those songs. I'm sort of a little bit segueing into covers, but we're not there yet. But
Okay.
This is another one of those songs where it's like surprisingly has a lot of reach, and a lot of people on the Reddit talk about how, like, unpopular opinion. But this is my favorite Blink-182 song post reunion, and like that unpopular opinion has been posted hundreds of times all over the internet. So not so unpopular, guys. But yeah, people
Call
love
these
this
guys
song.
in. You should get involved in the Blink-182 subreddit because you're there. You're lurking.
I'm there.
Yeah.
Should I make an official Blink-155 one? We can just be villains on there.
Yeah, you should definitely get in the mix and let's perpetuate whatever sort of misunderstandings continue to clog our interactions with the good people of Reddit.
You would call them good people.
They're all my friends, and I respect them.
So, needless to say, this song is popular, and it's popular enough that there's a parody of it.
Oh,
that I found
a parody
in my travels.
Okay.
Now, there's one little issue here, which is, do you speak Spanish?
No, but I work with someone who I just found out speaks Spanish.
Okay, well, maybe we'll have to not use their help with this because we're recording right now. And
Yeah, it's true.
This is coming up very soon.
I can email.
But-
I'll send it to them on Slack. I'll say, hey.
Well, I did translate the description of the song, but unfortunately they don't have the lyrics, so I don't really know what's going on with this parody. But I sent you the
sharing
link.
a Spanish language parody in which you have not been able to translate the lyrics is, I feel, the most Josiah thing you have now done on this podcast.
Wouldn't
Like
that be
playing
like
me
just-
three fucking like teenage boys in their garage in a row where like it just sounds like nothing over the headphones.
Yeah.
That's fine. But this,
I just thought, I mean, what a treat it would be for someone listening to be like, oh, that's quite a clever parody. I mean, I'm assuming that this is a really good parody of whatever it is.
well,
But
what if
was,
it turns out
was,
that it's like highly offensive?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I was able to put
Okay.
the description into Google Translate.
Yes.
And it seems like, well, here's what Google Translate has said. Song made to entertain. I'm not a singer, much less. Especially directed for polka fans.
What?
May not be liked by people outside the topic. Please ask respect, friends. So it's about a Pokemon character named Absol.
Oh, I thought-
ABSOL.
So I thought you meant polka, like the music polka, and that it was it was a parody for polka fans, and that if you were outside of the culture, like if you're not deep in the polka scene, you're not going to get these references. And
That's
so
that's a reverse Weird Al. Like instead of parodying things through polka,
Yeah.
parodying polka.
yeah.
That's crazy.
I imagine this was like a Weird Al style, like full like Blink-182 polka. Oh, are there Blink-182 songs in any Weird Al polkas?
No, I've already dug deep.
Okay,
to
anyway.
check, but no.
So this is
but
not
anyways,
Weird Al. This is Pokemon.
It's about Pokemon. It's by
Okay.
Insomniac Sable, published on October 4th. It has 283 views since then. It's called Premonition or something. However you would say premonition in Spanish.
And
not
also-
how I just did.
And if there are any Spanish language listeners to the pod, please tweet at us and let us know what is happening.
I just want to know if it's funny or not. I mean, I just want to know if it's a good parody. Because
Is it hobbyist or is it like? Have
Yeah,
we
or
played
is
any
it-
good parodies?
Has there ever been a good parody? I mean, even Weird Al parodies are good because we love Weird Al, but like...
No, you're
be
telling me
honest.
that White and Nerdy is not a good parody?
No, it's actually so good. And Trapped in the Drive-Thru, so good.
He's a god.
Some of his original songs are really funny too.
Well, he's doing a tour right now of just the originals. Like no big costume changes, like no big video montages. It's like just him and a
just
band
stripped down.
doing the originals, and it sold out in seconds. I did not get tickets. So also, if you are the promoter of the Weird Al show in Toronto, I don't need a +1. Like I will go alone. So
Hell yeah.
And I'll even put me on a to buy list. Like I'm happy to support with your hard earned money the Patreon supporters of Blink-155.
I went to a Weird Al concert when I was an editor at Fast Forward Weekly, and they gave me a photo pass. And I had a +1 with my photo pass, and so my wife and I just went up to the photo pit with our iPhones.
Yes.
And everyone was glaring. Everyone from like the big newspapers was glaring at us, but I just wanted to get up close to Weird Al.
Yeah, that's so sick. Was it awesome?
Oh man, it was so good. It was incredible, and all those Al TV clips that he plays in those concerts.
I've never
they
seen him
hold up
live.
so well. It's amazing. It's a true spectacle. Anyways, another, I presume, amazing parodist that we're about to hear. So let's hear this parody.
Okay.
Pelo blanco infernal, una mirada helada, premonición que es astral y un gran miedo a las hadas. Se escucha el canto mortal que trata de advertirte. Soy guardián del ideal y vengo a salvarte. La gente tiene terror, sienten la mala suerte. Tu espíritu está en error, mi corazón es fuerte. Las garras como espadas, colas de cimitarra, las huellas y pisadas, mi voz que te va a aterrar. Estrellas en mi mente, siente la premonición. Escucha lentamente, peligras en mi canción. Tus pueblos van a caer, tu gente ha de emigrar. Lo siento dentro mi ser, pero
I was like waiting for like a Bulbasaur or a Charmander to drop so I could kind of get oriented, but I did not. I couldn't grab onto anything there. You?
Yeah. Did you look around in the video? There are quite a few like anime clips and stuff. So. But yeah, in terms of the audio, it's a very straight ahead. I don't know. I mean, I assume that the lyrics are great.
Yeah, I also assume that. I also wanted to say, I know he says that he is much less than a professional singer, but like, I kind of liked his like really low register kind of laconic delivery, and then the sort of effect of the doubling again, at least like over my headphones from here, kind of gave it like this real, and I swear to God, you know, this isn't the only music I've ever listened to because I think I talk about it a lot, but it gave it like a like SoundCloudy Peep vibe to me, you know, of just
right,
like,
yeah.
I'm just here, and because the effect that's generally put on the vocals isn't like a doubling, it's, I guess it's like a, I don't know if it's like a phasing or a flange or whatever it is, but like they're treated in a way that the doubling kind of has a similar effect. And so I would encourage him to lean into that. Like I would love.
I think what you're saying is proving what I was saying earlier, which is that like the vocals need to be less upfront and more sort of like shrugged off. Like
you're right.
Tom is too thirsty with the vocals, but as soon as they sound more effortless, like our friend Insomniac Sable here.
Yeah.
Then it improves the song so much.
Yeah, I gotta say, Insomniac Sable could teach Tom a lesson or two, and the second one being the second track with the doubling.
As someone who is completely straight edge, I have a very stonery thought that I've kind of had my whole life.
You've been straight edge for like 2 months.
I've been, yeah, almost a year, but I've never been a stoner. Is what I'm saying.
Okay, I get that.
This is like what would be like a stoner meme online, but I truly don't understand. How do you translate a song from one language to another, but then still make the lyrics rhyme? Like, how does that work? How do you make like nouns rhyme with each other in different languages?
I mean, do you? Does anyone do that?
I don't know. I guess in this situation, that's definitely not what's happening.
Yeah, it's a parody.
These aren't the original lyrics. So when I was thinking about that, I probably was just being an idiot. But I have noticed that before when I watch movies with like rhyme, like maybe with a song that's been translated and it rhymes still somehow.
Well, I mean,
like, how does that?
I guess like in a lot of ways, translation is in and of itself an art, right? So like you'll see this, and I don't read any classic literature, but you'll see this often where people will talk about sort of like famous French novels or whatever, be like, oh, it's the so-and-so translation. Like there are like particularly strong translations or new translations of old books that people will say capture the essence better. And so because I think translation is not a linear, like at least at its sort of highest levels, is not a linear like Google Translate. If you're attempting to capture the spirit of something, you can probably play around with the language a little bit. So maybe it's like a sort of a reinterpretation with the same spirit, like how the Canadian and the English Canadian national anthems are like completely different, but you know, both about how tight Canada is.
Well, if someone translates this for us, this song we just listened to, please try to make it rhyme in English as well, or else I'm going to be very disoriented.
Right, yeah, that seems fair.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, it is actually pretty fun to play a cover play a parody that we have no idea what it is.
Yeah, I'm not mad about it, and I love the delivery on it. And if it's not funny, I have no idea, so I'm super into it.
So before we go earnestly into covers, one more guy again. This guy, Little Red Guitars, who in the past had said like, "What if Tom was on this song?" and then does like a Tom thing.
Yeah.
He has done a video. What if Blink-182's Natives had a guitar solo?
The age-old question that man has asked,
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's desperate to know.
Since he developed language, what if? Yeah, I get it, man.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to play it and then I'll shit on it after.
Okay. Yeah. But he's ripping it. Oh,
First
yeah.
of all, I was just saying how much I love the bridge.
I know,
and
I
then
knew
you just
that. I was like, oh,
like,
so sad.
what are you doing?
Well, this is the thing. Like, I feel like you probably had a similar experience growing up, which is like when you listen to punk, there are no guitar solos, and you're basically taught the guitar solos are like the Hesher's devil shit. And
Yeah, and also for me, prior to that, my guitar lessons had been steeped in like blues guitar, and when I was a little kid, my dad loved like Joe Satriani and stuff. So I had been surrounded by like shredder stuff before I developed my own taste in music. So I especially reacted against guitar solos.
But did you find, because I certainly did, that as you aged, you kind of got soft on guitar solos, and now you think that they fucking rip?
I mean, it's kind of crazy to just say that all guitar solos rip, and makes it seem like maybe you don't engage with them enough.
No, but like a good guitar solo to me now, I'm like, oh yeah, just ripping her, brother. Like I love it.
You sound like my uncle right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely did, and there's been different ways that I've still flirted with that kind of shit. Like I used to listen to Hella a lot, or like bands with like crazy guitar shit, or the fucking Champs I used to love.
Yeah.
And then, but I do like, I remember hearing Diarrhea Planet and being like, okay, who can deny how good the guitars sound? Like it's so fun.
Yeah,
And
I wish they had
like,
more guitars.
I do too, because also they have like 35 guys, and the guy they chose to sing like is not that great.
Yeah, it's always anytime I listen to Diarrhea Planet, I'm always like, oh, but when I see Diarrhea Planet, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I've never seen them, but I definitely don't mind a guitar solo. But it's like he ruined my favorite part of the song, and he's just playing a major scale and like just wanking around, and then he does something really fast at the end, and it's like, you know, this song didn't need a guitar solo, and also the lead is a guitar solo.
Yeah, to me, it's just it's a sort of like shitty guitar player mentality of like space is meant to be filled by guitar solo. I mean, it's not dissimilar to being the sort of person that needs to desperately fill every silence with like shit about Blink-182 or whatever else we talk about in our private lives.
Yeah, exactly. So that's that. I will say I've written down like about 15 covers.
What the fuck? No.
There's a lot. We're not going to play them all.
I know, but like you write them all down though, which I respect. I don't know. I don't think I respect it.
This is the sort of thing that's like deep fucking journo research where I write them all down, because what if I don't find something better, and then I sort of like edit as I go, you know?
I mean, I don't believe that you edit, but sure. Like otherwise,
no, I don't.
fine.
I mean, usually in my mind I edit as I go.
Okay.
To like, but this time I didn't. I don't have a priority or anything. I'm just gonna start with one that will make you mad, probably.
Is it ska? I hope it's ska, because like
there is one that's kind of ska-esque, but This one I just wrote down because it had 0 views somehow. Like I was the first view.
There's one view, and that's you.
That was me earlier today,
Wow.
and this is
Hey,
uploaded.
Josiah.
This was uploaded 4 and a bit years ago, like December 2013, and it had like, how did that even happen?
That's
Is it
a
even
thing.
possible?
Like, I don't think any video has no views on YouTube.
Like, especially after that long. Obviously, there's no views at first, but then what happened with what did Guitar Dave 22 do that fucked up the algorithm so bad that he got 0 views?
Like, to me, that's actually an achievement. Like, maybe he was trying to, like, make a point. I don't know. I love that.
Yeah, so what we've got here is I want to say a good old country boy, because he's wearing like that kind of camo shirt that's like not cool. That's from like Bass Pro Shop, like not like cool punk metal guy camo, but like real camo.
Yeah, like it's truly hard to see him.
Yeah, exactly. He's got a backwards fitted hat, and he's got a calendar with, I think, moose on the wall, like a bunch of meese. He just like this is a real man of the. I don't know where I'm going.
Salt of the earth. He's a salt of the earth.
Salt of the earth.
Yeah.
There we go. There it is. So he's doing an acoustic cover, and I didn't actually really watch much of it earlier. I was just so impressed to be the only view. So I don't know how to preface this except we're really like. We're making history right now. Second ever view that's happening live
really,
on this pod.
It's exciting to be able to share this as like a collective experience with all of our fans.
Let's just all close our eyes and enjoy this together.
Yeah.
I could just play it forever.
I was like, how long? How long is this going to go on for?
I told you the song's too long. Like, don't you want to know what he does at the chorus? But we'll never know because it's so long.
We will never know, and that's okay. He has
Guitar Dave 22. I gotta say, you gotta first of all, like, I don't know how you're playing the song, but you should give yourself a little bit more time to get from the play button back to your guitar because you missed the first bar.
Yeah. He has, I want to say, hundreds of covers on his YouTube page, and the only other one I've seen so far with no views is American Idiot by Green Day, your favorite band. But he's got like a Bowling for Soup video that has almost like 200 views, so like, you know, it's strange to me that you would be like truly the first. He's got a Johnny Cash cover with damn near 1,000 views.
I like that he's started standing up and playing an electric guitar for some of them.
Yeah, just changing it up. Guitar Dave 22.
Damn, Dave.
Oh.
I don't know if you want to say anything about the actual cover. I will say,
no.
I noticed this on a few of them. I like when people play the lead with an acoustic guitar over the electric. It sounds nice.
To be honest, that like jumped out in a way where I was like, fuck, it is a really good riff. Like, it's a really good classic Blink riff. And hearing it sort of plucked out that deliberately is a crucial reminder.
Well, I'm just going to keep plowing through them because I would like to get through a couple.
Yeah, let's plow, buddy.
Let's plow. This one, there's so many acoustic ones.
And how many are you going to play for me?
Well, I'm going to play you this one.
Okay.
The 130 views. There's a lot of acoustic ones that have like barely any views, but so Etc. 57, just a studio cover I did of Natives by Blink-182. Whipped this up around October of last year. Figured I'd put it up here since I didn't make a video for it. And the lyrics are wrong. But anyways, like, so they whipped it up in the studio, I guess. I guess this is a studio recording.
Ooh, wow.
I'm going to skip ahead a little bit so we can hear the vocals and the delivery. Okay, here we go.
Start a panic for me, cause I have nothing to lose. I am as bright as the sun, I burn up all that I choose. Up on the side of the field, I see a city with lights. I touch her face when I kneel. She tells me she's not alive, I am too nervous to run.
Like, if you're gonna, it's just one of those things where like, there's so many layers of vocals, and they're all so fucking like out of tune.
It sounded like Isaac Brock from Modest Mouse doing like a reggae song.
Right. Yeah. Oh,
but in a bad way. Like that, the reggae is the like I actually love Modest Mouse, but
do you not love
know,
reggae?
No, not really. And that was horrifying. That was just absolutely horrifying.
But to me, I just think that person thinks that they are good at music. You know, like,
well, especially
I
if you
reimagined
say,
it and I put all these layers.
Studio, like he called it a studio cover. Like, what does that even mean? It sounds like it was recorded on an iPhone.
Right, but I guess it's not live. Like maybe they've done it at a few like open mics, but this is where they took the time to really put those studio bells and whistles on in GarageBand. I just stop. Like my advice to someone like that is there's no charm in it because it really feels like they think that they know what they're doing and they don't. And you listen to yourself.
Well, I will say that I went to his page and he has a lot of Rocket League videos, like gaming Twitch stream Rocket League videos. So maybe stick to that. It seems like you're quite a bit better at that. Maybe consider changing your username to no longer be fucktarded llamas because that's just offensive also.
Yeah.
Both like in a woke sense and also just that it's so embarrassing.
Yeah, I think that's like a fair critique.
Okay, let's keep going. You're going to get mad at a couple of these, I think, because I'm definitely wasting your time.
It's not just my time. Like, you understand that, like people that you care about and people that you should care about listen to this podcast. So you're not just wasting your time and my time, Josiah. You're wasting their time.
Am I, though? Or am I, like, creating a safe space for, I don't know. I'm too tired to really bullshit properly right now.
Just play the fucking cover.
Okay. So we've had this before where, like, I'm going to play these backwards, but we've had this before where something is uploaded and then something is uploaded again to improve it, but it's, like, not improved at all. And this happened actually with Actually Amber was her name.
Right. I remember Actually Amber. Yeah, she was sick.
And Actually Amber actually covered the song, but she has so many Blink covers that we're not going to come back to her. But
we've talked a lot about Actually Amber, too. It's fun.
She's had her time. But this band Fly Swatter, I'm going to play these backwards. They're uploaded within a day of each other. I think it's the same band, even though it's a different user, because it's a band called Fly Swatter covering natives. But let's start with this first one, which, like, truly, just look at it, but truly this is the worst audio I've ever heard on YouTube in my life. This has 12 views, so let's hear what this one sounds like.
Okay. I mean,
it's like it makes me like tighten up. Like I feel like I'm being attacked by something. That audio. So then you'd think that like Fly Swatter was like, okay, that video obviously fucking sucked, but luckily while we were practicing, and it is the same guys because they're wearing the same outfits. It's just a different angle. They're like, luckily while we were practicing, we had this other camera going.
What?
Look at this other camera by a different user. I can't believe I found this. I'm so pathetic. But if you look around this the other video has like what looks like fingers over the camera, and it's like the worst angle I've ever seen in my life.
And
like,
one of them's wearing like a ska shirt or something. It's like a checkerboard shirt.
So let's hear if you piece these together, maybe you get a good cover. I don't know.
I cannot believe that you found like two different angles of a band from I don't know where they're from, but the descriptions are all in Spanish. Like,
let's see. Rafaela Santa Fe, where's that?
It's Argentina. So you found two different angles of an Argentinian, what I imagine is a Blink-182 cover band. Like maybe that's why they're called Fly Swatter.
Yeah, probably.
This like
It's don't you want a complete picture of the song? Like this is literally it could not be. This is basically a VR experience.
But you're like a detective though. This is like a thing where they're like, well, the bank has one angle, but I saw like a guy filming in a window, like who needs it. This is that episode of Black Mirror.
Well, okay. Can you see the other camera in each? I don't think you can, but you should be able to.
Oh, that's
because.
Yeah. Has someone been?
I mean,
edited
also,
out?
why is the second one like? What's covering the camera? It looks like someone's held their finger there the entire time.
But there's no person there.
I know, it's so weird.
Oh, I have no idea. But again, I would be nervous that if we continue to watch these videos, we'll eventually, see someone commit a murder.
Right.
Spoiler alert for people who have not watched Black Mirror yet this season.
Yeah, there's a murderer in one of them.
Death by email.
That's not a real spoiler that someone dies.
No.
In an entire season of a show.
No. Okay, so anyway, that was
You're fine.
Entirely spooky, man.
So what do you think? I mean, as I was earlier when I was doing this, it was kind of like all the small things thing where I was like, yeah, this is normal what I'm doing right now, piecing together these two different angles of the same video uploaded by different users.
Yeah.
But now that I'm saying it out loud, it's kind of
no, like what I think is that what this podcast has done to your brain is like so concerning to me. Like
impressive. I thought you were gonna say impressive.
No, and I feel like responsible now, right? Like I just like I worry about you.
You know what I love is the idea that people, as we've seen with the data, they turn half the people like don't listen all the way to the end. So probably half of our listeners think that I'm this like thoughtful music critic who is too hard on everything and like has opinions about like song structure and stuff. But then if you keep listening, it just gets to this shit.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think you're being extremely charitable about what people's opinion of you would be from listening to the first half of this podcast. But like,
right,
if that helps you sleep better at night, I have no problem with that. But no, I mean, everyone who listens the whole way through knows that like you have an illness, and it's not your fault, and that's fine. But I think most of my like in real life conversations about this podcast are people who are like, Josiah's fucking insane, eh? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it.
Yes, I just mean I had an out-of-body experience where I was like remembering how I was talking about the order that the chords were in on this song and how it's like clever or something.
Yeah.
But like now here I am like, maybe we can see the other camera if we look at the toms.
Yeah, and being like, it seems like there's a finger in front of the camera, yet there is no hand visible from the corresponding angle where you should be able to view the camera. No, you have a serious problem, and we are 29 episodes into solving it. So,
and like I said, these are the ones from the list that I think were worthy of sharing with you. So there are others that I skipped in order to show you that. But let's do two more.
Oh, okay.
Let's do a normie one for you so that you can
fuck off.
You can feel okay.
Thank you.
No, but this is actually this is the one time. Oh, can we pause for one sec? Hey Sam, how was your week?
It was fine. Nothing has happened for the last 10 minutes while you were gone. You have two more covers.
Yes. So, like I was saying, for the normie norm over here, let's listen to... no, this is actually... The reason I got my charger is because I knew I wanted to talk about this for a second. Have you ever actually... We talk about this band all the time, Future Idiots, the band that improves Blink-182.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So they would have done this song, for sure.
Because they did Neighborhoods. They improved Neighborhoods.
Neighborhoods and Morning Woods.
Yeah. I'm going to play that first, and then we'll talk about this band. But I do think that they actually like their version of this because it sounds like a pop-punk song.
Okay.
Like I've dreamed.
Turn each day tonight. I stand there waiting for you. There is desire to
I don't like it.
Really?
No, because they make some changes to the chord progression that, like, initially,
Yeah, that's true.
I really like, but the way that they change it right before the verse comes in, it, like, drops into this just, like, boring, predictable pop progression, which, like, is not at all what the song sounds like. And you even, like, look, you made a very smart comment about the chord progression earlier. I was doing the SpongeBob, like all sticky caps, smart comment. There.
It's true, actually. I did. I'm not pretending that I agreed with you all along, but I did think that it sounded like they were like dumbing down the chord progression. But I think aesthetically I like it. Like, I love the drums being dumb and straightforward.
No, initially I was totally like, fuck, this is what that song would sound like if it was a Toy Page song to
because it actually almost seems like insecurity on Blink-182's part that they felt like they had to add so much bullshit to a song like this.
Yeah, but then, like, honestly, as it sort of progressed, it started to just sound like an all-time low song or something to me, and that's like a band that I've never had any interest in, despite the fact that they literally, I guess, started as a Blink-182 cover band, and there's type vibes there.
So, okay, that's fair. Yeah, I don't love it either, but I do like I just like hearing it as a pop punk song because in my mind I can imagine my dream song. But anyways,
that's why they did this. They did this for that.
Like, Future Idiots, you always imagine as like the down guys, like the guys who are like down and get what pop punk should sound like and how to make it not sound like mall punk or whatever, right? But then, have you ever actually looked at a picture of them?
No.
Like, they literally kind of, especially one of them, they kind of look like Motley Crue.
What the fuck?
Like, that one guy is like so ridiculous.
And like, or like, they're like a cross between Motley Crue and like Turbo Negro.
Yeah.
Like, the dude literally looks like the singer from, like, he's dressed. What the fuck?
That one guy is called like the Flag Man. I think he just waves a flag while they play.
Yeah.
But, like, honestly, you'd think this band positions themselves as, like, the back to basics, no bullshit, straight ahead pop punk. And then you look at them, and this guy has, like he wears, like, bandanas and has black, straightened swoop hair. And he looks like if Bam Margera was a Madden brother.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what he looks like. This is bizarre.
So,
the Flag Man is weird, though.
I Googled them the other day, and I was like, what? This is what they look like?
Yeah, that's fucking strange, man.
Oh, here's another picture of them, and there's the guys walking down the street wearing a flag.
This is a podcast, by the way. Like, this is a podcast, Josiah. Like, we're not just hanging out.
There's gonna be new technology developed for this very purpose, so that I can G-chat everyone these photos while we're recording.
That's a very exciting future Black Mirror.
But yeah, so the no nonsense pop punk band literally has a man who in this photo looks like Morgan Spurlock, and his sole purpose is to wave a flag, I believe. So,
weird. Yeah, there's a little bit of nonsense in this no nonsense band.
Yeah, I think it might be time to say goodbye to Future Idiots.
I don't know. I feel like it's going to be hard to not listen to every single one of these covers as we do Neighborhoods, but you know.
I guess we'll see. We'll see, because if I can find more bands that have multiple angles of their video, that'll be
right. But I do want to hear the Future Idiots cover of like "Love Is Dangerous" because I don't remember what it sounds like, and that is interesting to me.
Well, then start your own podcast.
I'll do a exclusive where I just listen to Future Idiots alone.
Okay, so I'm saving my favorite for last. This is just so charming. 569 views. Uploaded by Ethan. I don't want to say his name wrong. It's OOI is the last name.
Okay.
Ethan Wee, maybe?
Yeah.
They're called the Fusion Quartet. Now, upon first glance,
I'm very excited about that name. So
you might think that this is a normal band because you see guitar, drums, and bass, but they've got a special little treat in lieu of vocals.
I just saw him stand up in the video. He's in the corner. So when you open this video, it looks like a normal band, but there's there's this like glimmer in the corner, and then you're like, is that what I think it is? And then you see Fusion Quartet. Oh, I'm excited.
Okay, here we go.
Yep, I loved it. I fucking loved it.
The way that the guitarist is wearing headphones, I was wondering if he's even coming through an amp, because you can't really hear anything except for drums and the odd bleep of a alto saxophone.
You know what's kind of disheartening about that, and I won't blame the band for it, but it's almost like they took your criticisms earlier to heart and they buried the vocal line, which in this case is the sax. Like, I wanted the sax to be like, you know, strong front and center, like full, because it's ska season, sax vibes. And it's a little buried in the mix. Again, I don't think this is through any particular fault of their own, but like that's just my one wish. It's not a criticism; it's a wish.
Right. Well, look, we've been going on a lot of tangents this week.
No,
I'm not going to play this right now, but I will tell you that they have uploaded a cover of a System of a Down song where that boy is instead playing a flute instead of the saxophone.
Yes. Well, we'll save. So we'll do a fusion quartet exclusive down the line.
I gotta say, I really did like Fusion Quartet. It's like I have to strain my ears. Like that was my computer and my speakers at full volume.
Okay.
So you really have to strain to hear, but I can tell that it's just like, it's very charming and cute. Like they're not even trying to do any bullshit. They're just like, we'll play the song and you play the sax.
Yeah, no, it's so sick. I mean, it reminds me of like, this is the, like, you know, we talked about this when we talk about ska, like working at band camp.
That's going to be the name of my next book.
What we talk about when we talk about ska. What is that? Is that Raymond Chandler? Is that? Oh my god. That's a funny fucking idea. This band reminds me of like what I liked about working at like a band camp, because you know you try to make it cool for kids, so you do a lot of ska with the kids, but then you also would do like weird shit like this. But this is like a deep cut. This isn't doing like a popular song, and that makes me respect them even more. So, hell yes.
It's so sad that you used to work at a real brick and mortar band camp in real life with the intimacy of human contact, and now band camp is just online only. It's really...
it's true. I feel for the kids nowadays. Yeah, they miss all those tactile experiences. So, Josiah, what are your final thoughts on Natives by Blink-182?
Why do I always have to go first?
Because I ask. You could ask. I'm trying... The reason you go first is because I'm trying
to end it. And I never wanted it to be over. I'd never want it to end. Oh. My final thoughts. I don't know. I still actually, you know what? The song keeps growing on me, and even when you pointed out the issues with the Future Idiots cover, it made me realize that once again, it's like a song that maybe can't get any better than it is, even though there's issues with it. It's a song that really only they can do.
I feel like you learned the true meaning of Natives over the course of the last 2 hours. And of course, we're not even done. As you pointed out, we have a guest this week that, like, you know, maybe some people are...
Wait.
You're not done.
What's your final thoughts?
Oh.
You have to do it too, Sam. You can't just... I feel like you play the role of host so that you don't have to... analyze your own thoughts.
Yeah, well, maybe if you ask more questions, Josiah, like maybe if you're interested in what I had to say, but like that's fine. That's your prerogative. So now that you're asking, I would love to tell you my final thought. The song rips.
And we're out of time.
Look, the song rips. You know, it's like a classic riff. You know, cool. Flange. I don't know. Like, the song's good. I didn't have a good final thought. That's why I was trying to move on.
I knew it.
I know.
But you don't think the flange is cool. You were complaining about it earlier.
I was. Now I'm just trying to get out of this. So, look.
Now we have to start all over again.
It's a re-record. So, you know, we obviously had a lot of, like, housekeeping to do at the beginning of this episode, so it felt extra long. I thought it was all fascinating. But we have an inversation? Jesus Christ.
An inversation.
Because it's an interview, but it's also a conversation. I think that I've actually like really pioneered.
Oh, you just said that on purpose.
Yeah, I'm totally on purpose. So Hanif Abdurraqib is kind of the first person, at least I've talked to on this podcast, that I like was not friends with at all. You know, there's people that I've talked to, you know, in the past that were like at least like Twitter friends or whatever. But this is like full on like. I read They Can't Kill Us Until They Kill Us, and it's like one of my favorite things I've read in a long time. Like I honestly just think it's like a brilliant fucking collection of essays. And so, of course, I was like, I want to punish this person by making them talk to me about one Blink-182 song for like half an hour. And he was kind enough to indulge, had like a lot of really smart things to say. And, you know, if you're not someone who's here because of him and you haven't like maybe heard or read They Can't Kill Us Until They Kill Us yet, I think anyone who has listened to a podcast about one Blink song for going on 2 hours would love this book. It's just a smart, amazing dissection of, you know, pop culture that is relevant to people like you and I, but also like much bigger ideas of what it means to be a person in America today. And the way that he connects those ideas is just brilliant. And he has some really intelligent stuff to say about natives. So I'm stoked to have him on. This is Hanif Abdurraqib, author of They Can't Kill Us Until They Kill Us. So Josiah, who I co-host this podcast with, thought that it would be a great idea to try to pick a song that we thought had, you know, really strong poetic underpinnings. And of course, Natives from Neighborhoods is like lyrically a convoluted mess of a song. I think kind of like a classic-y Blink song. I'm wondering if you have any impressions of Natives. Like, do you remember the first time you listened to Neighborhoods? Do you have any memories of hearing this song and what maybe you thought of it then versus what you think of it now?
Yeah, I remember listening to Neighborhoods in particularly because, you know, I was kind of like everyone else who at the time, you know, was excited for what amounted to a comeback album in a lot of ways. And Native stood out for me because I did not particularly care for the first track. Like Ghost on the Dance Floor was not my, you know, I know a lot of people liked it, but I didn't really vibe with it.
Well, it puts out a strong vibe.
So,
like it starts odd for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I skipped it after like a minute. And of course Natives is the second track. And that was the first song that made me feel like it was like a Blink album, you know?
Yeah.
Or at least the song that like let me feel like there was a trajectory that they were building off of from 2003-ish, from the self-titled. And so I remember really liking, really liking Natives when I first heard it. I didn't listen to it for a while until after recently, until like you told me that we were going to do this, and that I listened to it today a few times.
Yeah.
But my impression of it when I first heard it was that it was a song very much in the Blink lineage, in a way that the work that I'd heard from the new stuff didn't signal that to me.
Nick, given that, like, I feel like you're describing this very kind of particular experience of listening to Neighborhoods for the first time. Do you remember how soon it was after Natives that you realized that the record was, I mean, at least in my opinion, and I'm not sure about yours, like a truly insane mess?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think so. And I know that some people probably vary on this. But I think the album, for me, begins to come apart shortly after that. Like, I think is
like two songs later.
You know, yeah, like I think Up All Night is very in the vein, and I think Up All Night was the first single, right? So that was like very much in the vein of Blink. But around like Hearts All Gone, Wishing Well, I think the album really starts to kind of unravel, which is super fascinating because it's not a long album. It's like 35 minutes long or something along those lines. So for me, at least as a listener, the album, how it in 30 minutes or so can go from like kind of tightly wound to unraveling in a bit of a mess is kind of fascinating, but also I think very in tune to Blink as a band.
Yeah, that's fair. And as an artistic endeavor, it's certainly like a strange experience, but I sort of like respect it because it also at least sort of feels like to me maybe an honest picture of like how divisive and like fucked up the environment was in the band at that time. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Yeah, no, I think it fits, right? I think they're albums that sound like the tension that is going on in a group at the time. And I don't want to romanticize difficulty, but I do think that there was something kind of thrilling about Blink not putting out an album that sounded too clean, because they were not at the time. You know, it was a tense process to make that record, and so the fact that the record sounds tense is somewhat artistically honest. You know, I think you got to worry about the comeback albums that sound free of tension. You know. I think you got to worry about the comeback albums, the post-hiatus albums that sound a little too clean and refreshing. You know, I'm interested in the tension, like hearing the tension live out through the music.
I mean, I think it's a great point, and something that, you know, we have belabored in 29 and counting episodes of this incredibly foolish podcast, is that, you know, California as another kind of Blink comeback album sounds in a lot of ways exactly like what you've described. It's very much an attempt to like recreate a glory era of the band, so much so that like they had to go and find other people to write those songs for them because it's not where they even are as people anymore.
Yeah, California, and I don't know. I know that there are people who have a lot of varying opinions of California, but yeah, I don't think California is a Blink album. You know,
yeah,
it's like if Blink were a cover band. You know, it's like they're covering their kind of old selves. And you know, I know that there was a lot going on with that. I know that there were a lot of issues with Tom at that point, or before that point. And so, and like Matt's, you know, like I think Matt Skiba's really great. I think Matt Skiba's like really cool. I love Alkaline Trio. I don't think Matt Skiba's the Blink frontman.
Well, yeah, it's not his. He's doing an impression like most of the time, right?
Yeah, it's like your pals. You know, it's like if you gave your pals instruments and told them to, like, you know, play through Dude Ranch, give me their interpretation of Dude Ranch or whatever, you know. And if your pals were uniquely talented, because of course, you know, Travis and Mark and Matt are all uniquely talented dudes, but so much of Blink, California era Blink, was trying to rebuild the machine, right? And I was disheartened by that, because I think as bands of this type of genre and of this type of ethos age, I don't know if rebuilding the machine is the way to go. I know that there have been a lot of like critics of the new Fall Out Boy album and the way it sounds. But what I appreciate about that album, more than I've appreciated the post-hiatus albums or other post-hiatus albums from them, is that they're not trying to regurgitate a version of themselves that they're 100% certain works. You know, they're dabbling in different sounds and taking risks. And I think Blink around California was trying to refashion this idea of what they imagined worked. The only problem was they didn't have all the tools, you know. Like, I mean, I think that Tom DeLonge is so singular and iconic in what he does and what he brought to the band that to take him out, even to replace him with someone as skilled as Matt Skiba, it's just like not the, you know, it's not the same.
Yeah, it's interesting to compare it to Fall Out Boy, because I've always been like a very casual, you know, big songs Fall Out Boy fan. But, you know, in particular, you know, you're writing about Fall Out Boy in They Can't Kill Us Until They Kill Us. Really put them in a framework that I hadn't thought of them before. And actually, like, I read the book recently when I was on vacation, and I immediately got back and like messaged a couple of my friends that like love Fall Out Boy and have never understood my kind of like disinterest in them. And I was like, okay, I read this book. I feel like I get it. This person managed to put it in a way that you hadn't succeeded in doing it before. But it's interesting because... Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Just that, like, the way that their sort of, post-hiatus careers have evolved, you know, despite achieving maybe similar levels of fame, is a really interesting study in contrast that, like, I hadn't necessarily put a lot of thought into before.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. I mean, another thing is that it's not a one-to-one comparison, because I think that Blink, you know, I mean, Blink is big, right? But I think that Fall Out Boy are now like arena rock stars, and Blink would never, even at their heights, perhaps be able to do that in their late career. You know, I mean, that doesn't say they couldn't sell out an arena, but I mean, like, you know, Fall Out Boy now is at a point where they can take risks and it will not hurt them financially, nor will it necessarily harm their legacy in a way where Blink's legacy was kind of so narrow, and Blink's legacy had a lot of offshoots, right, with like Plus 44 and Boxcar Racer, and to you know, to a less, in my opinion, to a lesser extent, Angels and Airwaves. But I know a lot of people feel passionately about Angels and Airwaves.
Not me.
And I think that, yeah, not at all. Like I appreciated it, but I think that it was kind of Tom. Maybe with a little bit too much creative freedom. Yeah,
maybe. Or just like too many U2 CDs in the like 5-disc changer in his car or something.
Yeah. But I also think, I mean, I'm a big Tom DeLonge person, and I think that I think he's really uniquely gifted, and I think that, you know, it's only a matter of time before you're unable to kind of reel that in. And so I really think that, you know, Neighborhoods, in my opinion, sounds like two different albums, you know, even though it's only like, it's really short. It's a short album. It's like maybe like 10 or 11 songs or something like that. But it feels like two different records. It feels like almost like an Angels and Airwaves record and like maybe a Plus 44 record.
Yeah, it's interesting how, I mean, hypothetically, you'd be like, well, that sounds like Blink, but it totally doesn't. It is like a mishmash. Like, that's how you end up with songs like Love is Dangerous. But, you know, on Natives in particular, and I am curious about this, because obviously, like, we are also, you know, huge Tom fans. I mean, clearly, this is otherwise would be like a gigantic mistake of a way to commit like 3 years of your life. But by this era of Blink, he's like into like some really kind of heady lyrical territory where like there's a lot of like mixing of metaphors and sort of like these abstract thoughts. And so, you know, one of the things I am curious about is obviously, you know, like, you know, yourself as, you know, a poet, as a poetry editor. Do you have any thoughts about the way Tom in particular kind of approaches lyric writing in general, and if you want to specifically on the hit song Natives from Neighborhoods?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Tom as, so I think I wrote a thing maybe for Alternative Press about pop punk, emo, this punk as genre of lyricism as poetry and the poetic devices that folks use. And I don't know if I focus on Tom, but what I like about Tom as a lyricist is kind of his how unreliable of a narrator he is, you know, especially because I think that his what he lacks in reliability as a narrator, which I don't think you need reliable narration to be an effective writer if you can make up for it with the strength. And I think his strength is his imagery. And yes, I mean, I think he does mix metaphors along the way. I will say that I often don't dock points from lyricists for mixing metaphors because the language bank they're pulling from is so much thinner than someone who's like not trying to rhyme things, you know?
Right.
Because on Native, there's that image about being as bright as the sun and burning up everything. I value that. I really value Tom DeLonge's ability to write touchable imagery in small spaces. You know, the line that opens Natives is that is a line about being like a locked up cat in a cage, and I think there's something with that line and the way it blends with the kind of like tribal percussion that really brings that image to life, right? It's something palpable that kind of jumps out of the song in a way it would jump off the page if it was written in a poetry book. What I do value about Tom as a writer too is that he's always seemed to take emotional cues, like lyrically taken emotional cues from Travis in a lot of ways. I think about Blink. I think about Tom's lyrics and Travis's percussion as kind of interwoven parts in the same machine, you know. And I think that he's always done that so well.
That's such an interesting way of looking at it. Do you feel like he has more of that connection, like on a, I guess, like emotional musical plane with what Travis does than versus Mark? Like, do you think that's sort of unique to his contributions?
it seems unique. And of course, I have no idea how this works behind closed doors, right?
Yeah.
But I think Tom is the best writer when Travis is behind him, right? I think he's the best writer when there's percussion from Travis to kind of guide him. And I do think that lyricism can be, should be, is often guided by the sonic qualities of the space that the lyrics have to exist in, right? I think Tom's lyrics are at his most frantic on some of the more frantic percussive things happening in Blink songs. And I think there's, in a song like Natives, there's this like, lyrically, there's this imagery that is, there are like battering rams, and there's like, fighting out of things. And so I think that is also kind of the frantic qualities of Tom coming out more when there's kind of a more frantic drum beat happening.
I think it's a really good point, and I also really love like something you said even earlier about him as an unreliable narrator. We sort of made a joke on one of the sort of pod socials maybe a week or two ago where Matt Skiba had a patch on the back of his jacket that said like, "This is what a feminist looks like," and he was like pumping his fist, and we were like, it's funny because this guy still sings, "I need a girl that I can train." And it kind of led to this discussion in the replies where it's like, well, I think of like some Blink songs as kind of being like Descendant songs, like they're kind of frozen in time. They're just like in amber, but also like you never know the perspective from which Tom is writing. And so we've kind of dabbled in that when we get to the like kind of, problematic parts of the band. And so it's interesting to sort of frame his perspective in that way.
Yeah, Blink songs haven't aged well. And I think, and they haven't aged well in a way that is like really, and this is not exclusive to Blink, right? In doing a lot of talks about They Can't Kill Us Until They Kill Us, I've talked a lot about the first Fall Out Boy album and how, it's a monument to their career, but it also hasn't aged well. I mean, it just hasn't, right? It's like, and Blink songs, I think, haven't aged well, but tend to get a pass because they are seen as kind of like the lovable teen misfits at the high school. Whereas I think some of these other bands, like, gosh, I was recently listening to Mayday Parade's A Lesson in Romantics, and I was very much like, oh my God, this is like awful. These guys are like in their 20s, something still like, wishing death on ex-girlfriends.
Yeah.
And so I think Blink's music hasn't aged well, but I think that people tend to look at it less critically because it's easy to brush them off as like silly kids because of how their visual aesthetic was, and because I think there's a darkness in their misogyny. There's a lack of darkness in their misogyny, right? Their misogyny, I think, to some comes across as the type that you punch a friend on the shoulder and say, "Cut that shit out." You know what I mean? When obviously, I think it is all feeding into the same toxicity, just on different levels. But I do think the critical conversation around Blink, in my experience, is always like, well, they're like silly kids. And to be fair, sorry that I'm rambling, by the way, but to be fair,
it's great.
I think that Blink, you can, like a lot of these bands, I think Fall Out Boy too to some extent, and Mayday Parade not, they're still awful, but a lot of these bands, you can like watch them age and palpably like see them go through these iterations where they grow up a bit. And I think that also kind of softens the blow of the younger work. I think a value in Blink is that we got to kind of watch them become adults. And yeah, they've never maybe like aggressively disavowed their old stuff, but I think their body of work aged in their maturity. They became more mature through a series of albums and a series of songs, and I think that then makes their work more forgivable to some. But yeah, I mean, they're still, like Matt Skiba still has to sing those old songs. They still have to play those old songs, and so I struggle with that too. I feel like we went from Natives and now we're like talking about our conflicts with the lyric, but it's I think it's important. I think it's important to say like I struggle with Blink because like some of those old songs I just can't play anymore. They're like too cringeworthy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair, and also I definitely wouldn't apologize for going on like any sort of tangent. We're still talking about Blink, whereas like often on this podcast we end up talking mostly about like Kimya Dawson and Gob. So that is like still kind of an on point statement. But it's interesting in terms of how their evolution. You know, it's not like they've pulled a Beastie Boys and like completely disavowed some era of the band, but the fact that they're not still writing from the same perspective. Like I think of just like because it's recent, you know, when the new Eminem album came out, and I feel like a lot of people that maybe would have, you know, defended his past work found the sort of like ongoing use of like ableist slurs and the kind of language that he's still using to be really exhausting and kind of like retroactively like stuff that people had decided they were over. It was kind of like, well, maybe this was all not actually okay the whole time. So, you know, there's the Blink Eminem connection that I've sort of tried to draw in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, Eminem really still hasn't detached himself from like the blatant kind of homophobia and like violent misogynist rhetoric, right? And I think that like his newfound interest in Trump takedowns doesn't really dull that for me.
Well, he did hold hands with Elton John once at the Grammys, so like let's not, you know, take that away.
He did do that.
Very brave.
Which I forgot about until very recently. I forgot about that until very, very recently when I was writing about him, and like doing some like digging in the crates and remember that picture. And I think that was the height of kind of like pop performativity in a way.
Yeah, that's fair.
At least, but I think Blink. I don't know. A weird thing that I thought about with them recently was that they are well on their way to becoming a legacy act. And I think that a lot of folks may have, and I know that California just came out, but I think that like, so I saw them when California came out. I went to go see them live, kind of against my most desires. I didn't really want to, but they were in town. They're Blink-182. I'm going to go.
Yeah.
And I think a vibe in a lot of the crowd was like play the hits, you know? And I think there's like a really specific point where you can tell when a band is becoming the nobody wants to hear the new shit band, right? And I don't know if Blink is there yet, but I think their career arc is leading them there quickly. And that is both heartbreaking and also a bit like inevitable. I think they've kind of set themselves up for this because, like we were talking about, when their current iteration, they're kind of trying to replicate an old defective sound that they know works. And I think what you do when you kind of put yourself in that box, what are people going to say other than like, why play this new stuff that sounds like the old stuff? Just play the old stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of like lock yourself in a thing that way, I guess. But, you know, like maybe, with this podcast and with our support, we can, carry Blink-182 over this sort of like awkward hump in their, midlife and into like a beautiful old age as a classic rock band.
I would love that. I would love for them to kind of be, I don't know what an effective comparison is for, I would say I would love for them to be like Journey, but Journey's definitely like a play the hits band. But, I'd love for them to be kind of more than just a legacy act and an act that kind of like ages into, the thing about this genre that we are talking about here, and I don't know how you define it. I think pop punk is like a super broad umbrella that I'm comfortable using because it fits everything and every iteration of like what that means. I think we haven't seen a pop punk band age very well or very gracefully, and so we don't know what that looks like, right? And hip hop, I think Jay-Z, for better or worse, is setting the blueprint for what it looks like to age into music making, effective music making. Of course, there have been blueprints for that in rock and roll and even in punk, and then, of course, jazz and in country. And in country especially, I think, because, like, there have been acts that have been able to, like, cash in, no pun intended, cash in on new and different iterations of themselves. Be it Johnny Cash or Loretta Lynn. And I think in pop punk we haven't seen that happen, and I don't know what it looks like because it's still, so many of these bands are still kind of young, and by young I mean 20, 30 years in the game is still kind of young if you spent those first 10 years in the underground. And so I'm wondering what it looks like to see a band age within the genre.
Yeah, 20 years from now, it's going to be interesting, and I hope maybe they're going to play Natives again when they tour again in 20 years, because I feel like they have not been playing it, and so that can be a request we put in for the tour when they're in their 70s or whatever.
Yeah, when I saw them, they didn't play it. They played most of the songs on the album, but they didn't play like that, and a couple others.
Well, this podcast, we're doing our part. We're trying to sort of send messages to them kind of through the air, just general sort of the memification of ideas. So hopefully they'll pick it up, and maybe next tour people can express their gratitude to us for bringing Natives back into the set list.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hanif, I really appreciate you taking time to chat. I said this before we started recording, but I read your book, They Can't Kill Us Until They Kill Us, when I was on vacation, and came back and was just based on I think the insight that you have into all kinds of popular culture and then just sort of wider sort of society. I was like, this is someone who might be interested in talking about Blink-182 for half an hour. So I apologize. I lied to you. I said it would take 10 minutes and it's been 3 times that, but I really appreciate your time. I definitely will have been talking about your book throughout this podcast, but is there anything else that, at the end of 90 minutes of talking about Blink-182, people should be checking out of yours?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the book, I'm always up to talk about bands from this era. It's immensely important to me, and I know particularly that it's also important to people of my age and of that era. And so thank you for giving me the opportunity to do it. It's always a good time.